but still struggled with it. And I remember after having been promoted to this job at the authorities first, after a couple of weeks I realised I couldn't do the job. So I phoned up the assistant director and said, thanks for giving me the chance, but I can't do this job. He says, why? I said, well, at the end of the day, I'm an electrician in a suit. Never had any management experience, really don't know what I'm doing, got a passion to do something right, but I haven't got the skills. So he said, no, well, I'm going to make you an electrician, make you a manager. So long and short of it, they sent me back to university. I went and did a management degree, ended up with an MBA in management, and in 1997, when I graduated with a master's degree, I felt that I became ambitious then. And I thought, yeah, I can do more than what I thought I could. So I started to push the boundaries and wanted to get a better job. 1998, I got promoted to be an area manager in this local authority. And then after a while, I thought, actually, I want to be a director. Actually, I want to be assistant director. And the structures of the organisation wouldn't let me progress. So I kept pushing and said, well, look, you know, and they kept promoting me, but there was a point where they wouldn't push me beyond that point. So after a while, after 13 and a half years, I made a decision, I'm going to leave. Job for life, good salary, all the perks that I built up. Went to my wife and said, I'm leaving. Everybody, how can you walk out of a job? But I felt within myself that I had to do it because I just couldn't cope where I was. I got to the point where I had to pray before I went into work. That's how bad it was. And when you reach that point, you've got to get out. It starts to make it ill. And they kept saying, no, just wait a few more years. You'll be an assistant director. Just wait a few more years. And I'm thinking, I ain't going to wait. I'm going to go for what I want. So I left. And I left the week before my notice was up. I remember seeing this job on the internet, and it flashed up, and I couldn't find it again. And a few days after I looked for it, and I just saw this job, you know, Director of Chamber of Commerce. I didn't even know the Chamber of Commerce was. So I put this application forward. Didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks, and suddenly got this phone call. We'd like to call you for an interview for this job. Long and short of it, went to this interview, and sitting in this interview, the interview had been a cupboard. There was actually moving and was interviewed in a cupboard by about 4 foot by about 5 foot, and we squashed in this cupboard with boxes. And I remember looking at it thinking, what kind of job is this? Anyway, I just did the interview and felt that I didn't get the job. Left. Following day, they said, we really was impressed. Can you come back for a second interview? I said, I didn't realise there's a second interview. Oh yeah, there's a second interview. Went back for the interview. Long and short of it, I got this job. At the time, I didn't really understand fully what the Chamber of Commerce was, but having got offered the job, you quickly learned about it. I then discovered that, first of all, in the local authorities, they said I couldn't be an assistant director. A few more years, and all of a sudden, I ended up now being the director. Interesting. So I realised it wasn't me. It had to be there because all of a sudden, I'm now a director. Secondly, it then transpired that part of the role meant I had to go to the Houses of Parliament and the Houses of Lords. Been there before, really exciting. Took businessmen down there, met all the ministers, started to get sort of ingratiated with the sort of main politicians down there. And long and short of it, not long after that, I became the chief executive. At that time, I didn't realise that I became the country's first ever black chief executive of the Chamber of Commerce movement in its 220-year history. So I became the first in the local authority. I've now become the first black, and still am the only black chief executive ever to hold that position to my current knowledge. After 2.5 years, I was then headhunted to take on this new role, and which is what I currently hold now. And it was a position that was sort of a brand new position, and they were looking for a high-profile guy. I didn't realise I was classed as high-profile. Didn't realise that. Never even knew what it meant really. And long and short of it, I got this role, which is where I currently work. And it's an organisation looking at advising the public sector on compliance with the law, race equality, community cohesion, the whole gambit of policies around that. And I put together a team that works with me. While doing that job, for some reason, I'm not sure what exactly, but I came to the notice of some really senior people within the country, and then I was asked to set up this advisory group to advise the government, which I mentioned before. So I became the chairperson of the National Independent Advisory Group, and that then qualified me, I suppose, to sit on something called the control group. And the control group is a group that sort of has the interest of the nation's security at heart. And part of their work, I sit on part of the group that they do. And then I realised I became the first ever civilian to sit in the control group, and I am still the only civilian who has the opportunity of sitting on the control group. So, and then, you know, as I say, the rest is history. So that's a little bit about my journey from coming from the streets as you know, somebody that didn't have anything, working hard, and going through obtaining a master's degree. And then I decided in 2001, I finished my master's degree in 1997 and got my graduation in February 98, and then decided that I'm going to do a PhD. So then I did a PhD and got my PhD in 2005 in philosophy and history, and I just did it because I just felt like I could. And that's Dereck Campbell today, and so there you are.
Any round of applause. Any questions anybody wants to put forward for Asim? Yeah. One of the things that, you know, obviously you talked about one facing death, one facing disability. Yeah, I mean, and most people, if you face that in your life, you think, you know what, I've had a bad route.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, living with rats. What would you say is one of the key things that keeps you going? Would you say what keeps you going?
The key for me is my faith and my belief system, and my belief in God and the power that exists in the Word. And there's no ifs and buts about it. I am Christocentric in my view. It is for me my belief that I'm working for a better place. So, you know, I've never allowed, and I didn't realise I was successful. I've had people come and do degree courses, doing their dissertation. We want to do a dissertation on successful black males, and I wasn't sure why, because I wasn't sure what it was they wanted to hear. And even when I tell my story, I'm still not sure what it, how or what it is. I say, how did you do that? You know, how do you achieve that? You know, if God is with you, God is with you. It's as simple as that. There's got to be ability, but most importantly, it's about having a focus and just not. I don't believe in failure. Now that doesn't mean I'm ignorant. If I want to get to the other side of that and that wall's in front of me, I won't keep running and banging my head against the wall. I'll stand back and think, well, there must be another way to get into that room. So I don't allow the obstacles to stop me going forward. If I can't go this way, I'll sit down and work out another way. And sometimes the way that, you know, you achieve what you have to achieve, it means you may have to take a little bit longer. You may have to take a slightly longer route. But if you're focused on getting to where you want, if you're focused on getting somewhere, then you will get there. It might not come in the morning, it might come in the evening, it might come in 3 weeks' time. But if you've got a goal, you go for it. I had a 10-year plan, and I worked backwards with my 10-year plan. I wanted to be a director by the time I was 40, and I said, if I'm not there by 40, I was 29 at the time, then I'm going to give it up. So what I then realised, well, what does one need to be a director? So I've done a lot of research, found out what you need to be a director, and then I worked backwards. Well, I haven't got that, I haven't got that, I haven't got that, I haven't got that. So I then started to put in place everything I needed to have to allow me to be qualified for that, and it's just having that focus.
But that's a focus. You were born with. It's nothing was taught to you. It wasn't taught to you by anyone. I mean,
well, you say
the external pushes or
I'll tell you
encouragement.
What affected me was clearly my childhood and seeing principally my mother's struggle. And my mum's a fantastic woman. She was able to make something almost out of nothing. I remember going home and we were struggling sometimes to eat, and she'd go in the cupboard, we'd have a bag of flour, a little bit of salt and some sugar, and she'd make some dumplings. And you say, well, God, there was nothing in there. I couldn't see a meal.
How did you see that?
I couldn't see a meal. But she saw a meal. And you know, I remember her just getting some pieces of string and some wool. And she said, can you make me a little square rack? And I said, yeah, put some nails in it. Okay. And she ended up weaving, and she made some, we call them crochets. Yeah. You put them on the back of the chairs. And I thought, and I watched and observed my mum, and I'd stand there, out of all the kids, I'd stand there, and we'd sit there while she's watching telly, and we'd be just winding up balls of wool. That was my inspiration. And seeing her struggle, she had to be a man and a woman at the same time. No man around, so she had to be. I see her decorating, you know, come and hold it. She taught me to sew. She taught me, you know, to iron my own clothes. I learned from her. She's a matriarch, she's a champion.